IVE are at an interesting turning point in their career, in the sense that they have accrued such a large fan base. We're talking about IVE in their second year of their career being the biggest girl group out there right now. And what's even more insane to think about is that some of their biggest competition is their fellow rookie classmates, being LE SSERAFIM and NewJeans, who are also two of the biggest girl groups on the scene right now. There's a point in K-pop where you get so massive that I think you pass the threshold of what an idol is, and you become a superstar, an idol among idols per se. The reason that IVE are so big is really down to three glaring reasons. One, smart marketing by Starship, something that has been contended recently by netizens, which I disagree with. Two, pre-established fame with members that they brought in from IZ*ONE being Wonyoung and Yoojin. And three, conceptual consistency. While IVE's discography is not massive, they have been delivering us consistently high-quality music for nearly 2 years, ever since their debut. 11 was an incredibly successful debut for them, and they immediately hopped into Love Dive right after, which was my song of the year of 2022, and even won the Medasang. Next came Afterlife, which was the first time they experimented with using a really strong sample in one of their title tracks. Then they followed that up with their IVE album, pre-release being Kitsch, and the full release being I Am. That 4 comeback period is an incredibly important period for any group when it comes to the growth of your musical identity and theming behind the group's image. Previously, I made a longer essay video talking about why I believe IVE has a very alluring quality to them, mainly presented through the soundscapes of their music and some of the imagery presented in their music videos. IVE have one main characteristic through their debut and their first 3 comebacks in their music videos. That is being rich, luxurious, and untouchable. In 11, we see Wonyoung wearing this very pretty crystal headdress. Yoojin is wearing this shorter black dress, and at one point all of the members are wearing whiter silver outfits with velveteen gloves on. And Afterlife, we see them again wearing these all-white outfits with color-coordinated bracelets and necklaces on, depicting their individual solo scenes. And then there was I Am, which did the same thing, but they did it a little different. See, at the time leading up to the I Am comeback, I've had received varying backlash for different things from people in the K-pop community. There are other K-tubers, including myself, who have made videos talking about how IVE have become the biggest punching bags in K-pop for just dumbfounding reasons. And I saw a lot of people manipulate the posh concept that they had through their first 3 music videos and use that against them, saying that they weren't talented. They were only in K-pop for the money. They were all stuck up and arrogant, and these are all just wild claims. The biggest one I heard around that time was Wonyoung is more of a model than she is an artist or an idol. So with the release of I Am, not only lyrically in that song do they address some of that hate, but through the music video, they also very directly address that by playing into it even more. Right? They're wearing suits, dancing in ballrooms, and on the side of their private jet's wing. And the color coding for the whole music video is white, black, silver, and gold, typically colors associated with high status or wealth. And the lyrics preach about being who you are in any circumstance. So I Am's music video, and excuse me for my language, serves as a metaphorical fuck you to the haters. I mean, we even saw that posh concept translate into their Japanese release with Wave, which had some very posh imagery as well in that music video. So through the first 4 releases for IVE, they seemed very untouchable or unreachable. They have achieved success and are simply different from you and I. Yet Either Way is probably the best release IVE could have come out with after I Am, because of the very obvious juxtaposition between I Am's music video and Either Way's music video. Now briefly, I will interject here and say that the song itself, from a lyrical standpoint, is great. The theming of directly addressing the hate that members like Wonyoung and Yoojin and Leeso have gotten is an incredibly smart move from Starship, because you could really just let a group like IVE bottle up all of that negativity that they receive, all the outside hate from Twitter and Reddit and YouTube. Either Way's lyricism shows that Starship is very much aware of the hate that they've received, and I think tackling that problem head on through the music is a much healthier way of doing it, rather than letting the idols in IVE like accrue this baggage of hatred over time and letting that fester, because that could be very dangerous. If you really don't think that hatred you spread online can have psychological impacts on people, I don't know what to tell you. In the aftermath of my aespa video and the comments I made on that video, because of the hate comments and death threats that I received for literally over a month after that video came out, I couldn't physically listen to aespa music for like 3 months afterwards. My brain literally formed a mental block of listening to their music. Every single time one of their songs came on, I immediately skipped it because I physically could not listen to it. And that's a problem that I still deal with making this video now. And I was only attacked by a microcosm of that fandom. Imagine the amount of hate that some of these bigger idols get and how that mentally impacts them. I think the song Either Way is great, and I think the lyricism is even better. One of the better pop ballads that I've certainly listened to in the entire year, really. So moving back into focus with the cinematography, not only is the music video from aspect ratio shot completely different than the rest of their music videos, they use this camera that isn't quite VHS heavy as per se the Ditto music video, but there's this ever-faint blurriness to a lot of the shots that really sucks a lot of the life and color even in these shots that have balloons and party streamers on the floor. It's very colorful shots, but it doesn't feel very full of life. There's a lot more emphasis on still frames, less reliant on match cuts and quick cutaways, which is really expected when you're focusing more on storytelling. However, the way that some of the shots are cut in the beginning almost makes it feel as if all of the members are representing one person, like how Wonyoung looks in the mirror and sees Rei, and then when Rei moves her head, it switches to a frame of Liso doing the same thing. While there are certainly individual stories being told in the lyricism, the thematic implications of the music video seem to be more universal in nature. And there are some very subtly smart shots at the beginning of this music video, specifically one with Rei and one with Gal. There's a shot where Gal is like laying on the floor and she's laying by what seems to be some dead leaves. Then in the very next shot, she is picking what looks to be a flower petal out of a flower that she is like holding in her mouth. My interpretation of that shot was the process of idols' words being taken out of context and being used against them. There's another shot where Rei holds up her phone and her camera's flash is on, and then it immediately cuts to a shot of Liz with this bright flashlight beaming on her. That can show the general spotlight, which is always being shown on IVE because of how popular they are, but how that constant monitoring is done through technology such as our phones. Later in the music video, we see each individual member moving into this dorm setting, and it's emphasized that each member moves in individually. They're never together when they're moving in, which I think can represent how lonely it can really be for some of these, especially younger idols, to move out of the living situation they're in. They could be living with their family to a completely new place with people they have not really met before. Like, imagine these 15 and 16-year-olds that are being forced to debut by companies that have to move out of their parents' home into a dorm with essentially a bunch of people they met very briefly, forcing these idols to grow up faster than they actually should be. And that's also a theme in this music video, which is kind of missing youth. There's a party being thrown in the music video which isn't actually happening, which takes place at an empty school. And I know I just talked about Chojimi in my last video, but while I was preparing for that last video and going through some of their content, I realized they also made a video talk about Either Way, and they touch on this a little more in depth and I think explain it better than I can here, so I'll leave that video in the description. I think it's really good. Either Way is in stark contrast to what we have seen from IVE prior, almost taking us through what being an idol feels like rather than what it's being portrayed as. If I Am represents what the public views as what an idol is and who IVE as a group are, Either Way is removing that mask and showing how they really feel. I think the choice to drop this title track before the other ones in this upcoming EP should not be overshadowed. I think it was a very deliberate decision by Starship to drop this first. It is showing potentially a new avenue IVE could go for their music, tackling the concept of being an idol. Either Way, potentially being a catalyst for a whole new era of IVE is not something that would be unexpected to me. Other K-pop groups have used trilogies and for release comeback periods to define a story, right? Dreamcatcher does it all the time with their music. They had 3 releases in their dystopia era. They had their nightmare era. They just went through their apocalypse era. And IVE could have possibly been telling a contained story from 11 to I Am, one that shows the extrinsic perspective of how idols are viewed by the public, specifically idols that rise into mega stardom such as IVE. Either Way can be a social commentary on idols literally skipping entire periods of their life. South Korea has a little bit of a different education system over there than we do over here in the US, but when Wonyoung debuted in IZ*ONE, she was 14 years old, which over in South Korea is around the time that you would be in 7th or 8th grade. When Wonyoung was in IZ*ONE, she should have been in middle school. I mean, this is literally a child who is missing a good amount of normal school life, and while I certainly hated waking up to go to school, activities such as going to school really helps children of all ages develop societal skills. And this is the harsh reality that Either Way is presenting to the viewer. The members in IVE depicted in the music video didn't get to go to school and live a normal life. I really hope that Starship continues to explore concepts like this going forward in IVE's music. There was an odd sense of irony in the I Am music video because they're being flaunted in the music video as living a very luxurious and posh lifestyle, yet the message behind the song was the complete opposite. It was relatable and down to earth, a theme that many can connect to. I Am and Either Way both do something that is completely against the industry code, and that is, it actually humanizes the members instead of dehumanizes them. I've preached about this many times before, but the idol industry is very cutthroat and fake, but at the end of the day, idols are people just like you and me. Can they put on fake personalities? Yes. Are most K-pop companies deceitful, facetious, and money-hungry? Yes, but the industry is still built off of real people living real lives, and IVE is a K-pop girl group made out of real people. Starship is taking IVE in a direction that I think more companies should do with their K-pop groups, and that's building relatability between the viewer and the K-pop group. Even though most casual viewers cannot at all relate to the situation that they are in, they can at least construct themes that said viewer can somewhat relate to. Even though I can't directly relate to the amount of hate some of the IVE members have gotten in Either Way's lyricism, I can at least somewhat understand how they feel after myself experiencing a good amount of hate online. If IVE can further refine their pop concept and head in a parallel direction such as Everglow and Dreamcatcher did with unifying their conceptual sound, then IVE will be, quite frankly, unstoppable in the K-pop sphere. I mean, they arguably already are, but if they can really hone in on mastering their pop sound, they will be the biggest girl group in K-pop for the foreseeable future. Until then, I'm excited to see which direction IVE further takes. I do commend Starship for some of the story beats that they have touched on in their music videos, like Love Dive's mythological ties are really cool. I wish more K-pop groups did that. I think Either Way should be a real wake-up call for a lot of people who love to run their mouth on the internet. I've always been a bit puzzled as to why people said that Starship market this group poorly. Musically, they're marketing this group fantastically. You couldn't do much of a better job. But really, that's all I have to say about this recent Either Way release. Again, I'm recording this and most likely dropping this before their next pre-release of the EP, which I believe is coming out on the 6th. They may end up dropping a music video which storyline completely diverges from anything I talked about in this video. But I do think that Either Way is this new chapter in IVE's story, and it'll be interesting to see what side of IVE Starship embraces going forward. Thank you for watching this video all the way through. I very much appreciate it. And I'm going to go start working on my next essay, so stay tuned for that. I heard it's going to be about IZ*ONE.